So I've decided to make this second video, even though I'm a bit shaky still from the last one. As you can guess, some of these things are not the easiest to talk about. So as you'll realise, for example, my story, I can just tell it. I have no emotional connection to it anymore. But some of the things afterwards are still quite emotional and still, I won't say fresh in my mind, but talking about them does still hurt. So bear with me. So this video is about sort of the aftermath and what sort of happened psychologically. And this is important to understand that in these cases, of course, you've got the incident, but the aftermath is just as bad, and it stretches for such a long time. Like really, it takes years. So yeah, I'm gonna do it. Okay. So the first week after it happened, I felt completely numb. Actually, I didn't have any feelings. So when my parents came to meet me in Scotland, I didn't really feel anything, and it was almost as if, I mean, I knew this terrible thing had happened to me, but it just didn't really sink in. Like, my brain couldn't process this, so I couldn't, I don't know, I just felt so numb. I wasn't happy, but I wasn't sad either. And at one point I was a little bit starting to worry that, are people not going to believe me? Because surely I should be sad, and surely I should be crying, but I just didn't even feel like crying. I was just so numb. I think it was just the aftermath and the shock of it all, that my brain kind of just shut down and I became like a zombie. And that lasted for a week, maybe even two. After 2 weeks, then the symptoms started to, sort of the aftermath started to kick in, and that's when things got really bad. So at this point, I was still thinking to stay in Dundee, come back after Christmas to finish my studies, because I had, you know, I had the course that I liked there, and I had other friends, not the ones that were in common with me in Callum, but I had some other friends, including Alona, which was an amazing girl, and Colin, obviously, my boyfriend, who I was starting to fall in love with, and so the idea was always to go back, but I started to realise in the second week that I just couldn't do it, and things were getting worse and worse. So the first thing I kind of felt was this real sadness, just really sad, and I felt alone and really scared, because at this point I was still in Dundee, and I was worried that, because he'd only spent 7 days in jail, so he was out there again, and of course I had a restraining order and he wasn't allowed to be in Dundee, but he didn't live very far away, so I was really scared of bumping into him, or that he would come to find me. So I would walk around with a hoodie whenever I went from place to place, and no, thank God it's November, so it didn't look strange, so I always just covered my head, even if it was summer. I mean, to be honest, it's Scotland, so it wouldn't have been strange then either. But yeah, so that's when I realised I was just really scared to leave my flat, and I decided, no, like, I can't do this, like, I can't come back, and I can't deal with his friends, because I knew they were going to try and find me and try and ask me what had happened, and I wasn't sure that they would even pick my side, and I didn't expect them to pick my side, because I wouldn't have believed me at that point. I mean, these were people who'd known him longer than I had, and I couldn't believe it, so I just didn't want to deal with them, and I decided at that point that I needed to go home, and that decision sort of broke my heart. It really did. It really did. So anyhow, I went home, And I spent Christmas with my family, and I decided that, yeah, I was going to stay back in Finland, move back to my hometown in Turku with my brother, um, and stay there. So that's what I did. During this time I started to sort of, it was Christmas time, and I starting to feel sort of emotions of anger and sadness. And I remember so clearly this one point where I was going to like the sauna, and I was carrying wood down to the sauna, and it was winter, and it was quite slippery. There was ice on the ground, and I slipped and I fell. And that was sort of the last straw, because I felt like I didn't even have control, because I felt I'd lost complete control over my life. But now it just felt like I didn't even have control over my own steps. I couldn't even keep upright. So that's the point where I just started screaming and yelling. Because I was just so angry. I was just so angry that he destroyed my life like that. And the sauna's quite a way down from the actual house, and I remember my mom and my dad coming to get me, so they probably heard me just yelling and screaming, and they came and got me. I think my mom calmed me down, and just got me breathing, but I was just in such a state of anger and pain. So I remember sort of hyperventilating, but she calmed me down, and brought me back to the house. Sorry. The other thing I started feeling pretty fast was the feeling of shame and real embarrassment and this discomfort just in me. Like I kept sitting in the shower and just trying to wash away, just like trying to clean myself, but the feeling of being dirty just wouldn't come off. It wouldn't come off. And that I did for quite some time, just sitting in the shower. And I remember even sitting in the car, and I was like, I can't escape myself from me, like this feeling, because obviously, like for rape victim, the issue is like the scene of the crime is really your body, and you can't escape your body, so it just follows you wherever you are. And I remember sitting in the car, and I was like, no matter where I went, this feeling would follow me. And that was really, really hard to come to terms with. The other thing was the sleepless nights, because my brain was just so overreactive. Like I just kept thinking about what had happened, not just about what had happened, but what could have happened and what I should have done and what could have gone even worse, and what all these different scenarios playing in my mind constantly. During the day it was sort of okay because I had people around me, so I had people to distract me from my own thoughts, but at night it would get really quiet when I was lying in my own bed, and the thoughts would just start, and you just couldn't shut them off. You just couldn't shut them off, and you were so tired. You just wanted it to stop, but it wouldn't. And eventually you'd fall asleep, and then the nightmares would start. And I'd always just see his face, and those dark eyes just staring at me. And again, like, you would go through all these different scenarios, and then you'd wake up, and then the thoughts would take over again, and it was just this constant cycle, and I was just so exhausted. It was a point where I just wanted to just shut off everything, like just... And I'd got sleeping pills from the doctor, but they weren't really helping that much, so I really had trouble sleeping, and that's why I would nap during the days when I could, and I was just simply too exhausted I would fall asleep during the days and then try and keep myself entertained at night and do whatever I could, so watch movies and everything. So for quite a few months I didn't sleep during the nights. Like, it was just the part of the day that I hated the most. Really, really hated the most. There was also the thing of the physical pain sort of healed, so I wasn't sore anymore, but the emotional pain was so much worse because it wouldn't go away. I tried it just felt like that pain was just stuck, really, really stuck in you, and it wouldn't heal. And that's, I think, why a lot of people turn towards self-harm, because you want to turn that emotional pain into physical pain, because at least you can deal with physical pain. But emotional pain is just so much harder to deal with. So it doesn't surprise me. And there's a few times where I thought of it, but I just never got to the point where I actually hurt myself. But I won't lie, like, there was a few times where I thought, I just want to turn this into physical pain, because it would be so much easier to deal with. The other thing that I started to notice is that I got really scared, and I started to distrust everyone, even members of my own family, because I kept thinking, well, if Callum did this, then I thought I knew Callum, then anyone can do this. Like, everyone's got a bad side to them, and everyone could possibly hurt me. And it became sort of this paranoia that I couldn't trust anyone. Thankfully, that didn't last too long with sort of friends and family. Within a couple of weeks that was gone, but that lasted a long time with strangers. So for a long time I didn't trust strangers, and I didn't want to go out. Sorry. Loss of control was another thing. So at that point I felt like I just had control over nothing. Like when I fell, just had control over nothing in my life. And that's really difficult to deal with, and I'll have a whole video on that, because that's sort of important to understand, and I'll explain what I did to eventually sort of get that back into my life, like that sense of control back in a healthy way, because a lot of people turn to extreme dieting or extreme exercising to control something, and that's not the answer. So, but I'll have another video on that. And then I also had panic attacks, but that also will be for another video, because obviously this one's getting a bit long, and I don't think I can really talk anymore, so that's it. So difficult video to do, but I'm glad I did it, and yeah.